Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Wholesale Hotties, a place where ladies in real estate are talking about real estate. I'm your host and MC, Sharon Lee Smith, together with Monique Fell. This week, Donda's not here, but that's okay. I'm sure she's having a grand old time. We have with us a special guest here for a third time, Jennifer Steward. Jennifer, welcome to the show again. We're so glad to have you back on.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I did enjoy co-hosting one time and another time as a guest, and I'm happy to be on as a guest today. Thank you for this opportunity. Great to see you again.
Good to see you too. Listen, I wanted you on specifically because I'm super excited to talk to you about something that some of us just only dream about. So many people, I'm sure, dream about, and that's taking a real extended break from their business. So to my knowledge, this is the second year, maybe you've done this even more, that you have taken like a full month off and gone away and just relaxed and gotten out. So tell us a bit about that. When did you take time off? Where did you go?
This is the third year that I've done that. And the first time was too short. I felt like a month was too short. And that was in 2023. And then in 2024, I took a month off in spring. And then in the fall, we wanted to go longer. And we took 10 weeks off in the fall of 2024. And then it felt like 10 weeks was a little too long. So we kind of met in the middle and we did 7 weeks, which felt a little long too. So I've decided that 1 month is kind of the sweet spot because it still leaves you wanting a little bit more. Whereas 7 weeks felt a little too long. And so I find that just like with social interactions, it's better to leave people wanting something, as we learn in all of our books, like the 48 Laws of Power and all these other books on persuasion and impression management and all of that. It's better to leave people wanting more than it is to overstay your welcome.
Including yourself.
Including being inside your own head without distractions on a vacation. I'm just kidding. There are lots of distractions and lots of fun. But the anxiety kind of starts to build, right? Because you start to notice attrition in your clients, your staff, your business, and then, the ratio of relaxation to anxiety starts to flip a little bit. I think depending on how you've built your business. For some people, that may be 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 hours. Well, for me, I start to feel like, oh my gosh, I need to get back to work in about 4 weeks. So I would say caveat emptor and find your own rhythm that works for you on that.
Yeah.
So when that happens, Jennifer, you talk about attrition. And so does that mean you go away and nothing exists in your business for 4 months and around you that you participate in? Or like a monk, you like kind of go off, and like, okay, nobody talk to me. Nobody communicate with me. I'm not I don't call me for problems. Or is it that you still have communication available, or do you limit the communicate? I mean, where is the balance there, and how do you best do that without losing your mind, without to me, I would like, oh my gosh, what's going on without me?
Great question. So one thing I
do that, but I would also probably have constant communication.
As I build up before my trip, this part's a little bit niche. I don't really beat the bushes for new clients because I don't want to have to service new clients. And so most of the clients I have around the time I leave are clients that are already established that I've had. So they don't require a lot of communication because my team handles the day-to-day anyways. The only time people really need me is if my staff aren't doing what they're supposed to do, which at this point in my career is extremely rare. But where the attrition comes in, and we all know this, is that people like attention from the boss. Without that, people feel not as special. Maybe they need leadership. They need guidance because they don't see where in their business they are not doing their part, perhaps. Like my staff, they do their part at this point. But without me kind of looking over sometimes my investors' shoulders or the people who are using my marketing services, bad habits can get into my clients. if that makes sense. Now, my staff, they're very, very well trained. Like humans are as trainable as dogs. I know that's horrible to say. Probably don't quote me on that out of context. But
I'm totally clipping that one. No,
but my staff has been with me for so long that they are very well trained. Now, my clients aren't as trained. They're not as amenable to training because they're the ones paying me. So who am I to train them, right? And so the attrition comes in, Monique, whenever I'm not there to go, hey, okay, I'm noticing that you're not going on your appointments that we're setting for you. What's up with that? Or one of my people at EXP, one of my downline left me. And we had not been in communication for a little while. And he found some other brokerage to go to, which is fine. I genuinely wished him well. That's super important in attrition, is that as people do leave, you need to sincerely, from the bottom of your heart, wish them well and pray for their success. Because guess what? He found an opportunity that seems really, really lucrative. And it just so happens that part of that is he has to sign up with this other brokerage for some reason to do the dispo for them. And guess what? He's got an opportunity that could make him $40K a month. And so it would be unprofessional of me to just be mad that he left me at EXP instead of going, oh, hey, how can I add that kind of line of business to my repertoire in a passive way, possibly, right? And so whenever you do have attrition, you have to bless and release. But yeah, people are allowed to communicate with me. I do not restrict communication whatsoever. But I noticed, guys, in this era of social media, that just by posting, and you were kind enough to come in and comment on this particular post, Sharon, just by posting that you're traveling, people don't reach out to you. And in fact, my staff will say, Jen, please don't post that you're traveling because it really limits our supply of new clients. And I tell them that it's important to show my travel. I didn't used to.
Yeah.
It's important to show the travel because it adds credibility to what you're doing. Because if all I'm doing is just out there hustling and hustling and hustling and hustling, I don't look very successful. I look kind of desperate. And look, everyone is desperate at some point in their day. I mean, do you think Trump wakes up in the middle of the night in his tighty-whities or boxers or whatever it is, pulled over his big belly looking like $1 million? I mean, no, we're all desperate and pathetic at some point during the day. So I don't pretend that I'm not desperate like every person is. I need business. I need validation. I need love. I need self-care. Like, I'm just as desperate for those things as the next person.
I think that visual kind of like didn't quite go.
That's okay.
But I don't want to look desperate, right? And so whenever you don't, and even I know private money lenders who have millions of dollars, they still have to ask other people for money, and they have plenty of money, but they don't want to look desperate, right? So none of us, whether we truly are desperate or not, we don't want to look that way. And if I'm not posting my travels, then there's no break in my narrative asking for business, because I do. I ask for business heavy. I market heavy. I fill my feed full of the leads and the deals that we find heavily. I talk about the lending heavily. I'm very, very heavy-handed on letting people know what I do. So even months later, even if I haven't posted about it months later, people still remember what I do. And so traveling also kind of gives my my network a break in terms of my messaging, right? So it kind of allows it to breathe. But the cost of that, just like whenever you're letting fresh air in the house, you might get some flies. And for me, the flies is the attrition. It's not getting new business. It's staff being a little less loyal and this close to mutiny. But they know I'm not going to come back. I mean, I know some of them are a little slower to send their end of day reports because they know that I might not check it that day, or it may be passive aggressive because I'm not as up their rear end, and they, people want leaders from the front. If they're working really hard every day and I'm just lollygagging in the redwoods or on the beach, there can be a little bit of resentment there. So that's part of the flies that come in when you're getting the fresh air of posting your travels and communicating that. So again, caveat emptor, you have to know what works for your business. It may not be good for you to post that you're traveling. If you're flipping, I hear you may not want to post because that's whenever your contractors kind of go MIA. So you have to really know your own business to know how much you want to share, or whether it's wise to share what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, and it might always be a good place to always find, maybe not post in the minute, but at some point, because people want to know you further, deeper, on a deeper level than just a phone call. Or even if you're getting into the weeds and having real in-depth phone calls, still being able to see the fun that you have too gives them a sense of connection with you at a level that they're not going to get otherwise. So it's always good to do that on that level.
Well said.
Yeah, and it makes you become a person. You're not just a number. Yeah. You're not just a business. You're a real person. You have the same, joys and sorrows and whatever else in life. And so then they can connect with you. So thinking about that specifically, like if you think back to your first long trip, was that something like you had planned for a while and kind of worked up to, or was it like out of necessity, right? I'm burnt out, I got to get away type of, or whatever other necessity, I
had a heart attack in May of 2023. And it wasn't from a clogged artery or an arrhythmia. It was just pure stress. Because I was wholesaling, plus doing lending, plus data and skip tracing was big then. It was like I was making like $30K a month just from that. Now, Deal Machine has changed that because they offer so much for free now or whatever. So that business is gone. So I've had to pick up another line of business to replace that income. But you can imagine that's a lot of data at 3 cents per record, skip traced and pulled. And then there was always drama with that for some reason. I don't have any drama in my business now, but the data and skip tracing business just had so much drama, so much complaints about the list, even though, look, my team, they did a great job. Their data is the same as everyone else's. We just didn't charge as much. We didn't do an upcharge like a lot of companies were doing back then. I was a wholesaler's wholesale source on data, right? And there's always drama with wholesaling and title and sellers. And then, I was also offering consulting too, not because I wanted to, because people were demanding it at that time. Mm-hmm. And that was very emotionally difficult, as you know, because I know you do consulting. We've talked about that. Yeah. And then I was doing my cold calling business as well. And I think I already said lending. And so think about that. I mean, that's a crap ton because I have all this staff, all this responsibility. And mentally, I was able to keep up. I mean, it was fun mentally. I enjoyed it. Right. But my body
said no.
I mean, I was having fun, but apparently my body was not. And so I didn't think I was going to live very long. I felt like crap. I can imagine you can relate, Sharon. I felt physically like crap.
Indeed. Yeah.
And I just didn't know if I was going to live very long. And I wanted to enjoy my children. So I told my domestic partner at the time to quit his job, come home, homeschool the kids. That way we could travel freely around the country because all I had done since my kids were born was work and build my business because we were so poor that I had no choice. And, I don't know about you, Sharon, but when I had that heart attack, I had 3 thoughts. None of them had to do with, oh, I wish I'd hooked up with more hot dudes or, oh, I wish I had more sports cars or more clothes or a bigger, fancier house. It was 3 things. I wish I'd spent more time with my children. I wish I had been nicer to people who could do nothing for me. Yeah. And I wish I had been a more honest person. I was more the type of person who would tell you what you wanted to hear just to get you off my back, just to get what I wanted. And then I wasn't very nice to people who couldn't do anything for me because I saw it as a waste of time. Like if there was some, fat, poor girl at the end of the street who wanted to invite me to her baby shower and had an IQ of 80, I didn't find much value in that, right? Like, how is that going to give me any value in life? That's how I thought. But after that heart attack, I was like, you know what? That big lady with a low IQ and baby showering, that's the lady who's going to bring you soup whenever you're sick. That's the lady who's like genuinely cares about you as a person. Yeah. The business community, very smart people, but when poop hits the fan, they're really not there for you in general.
Right.
Like, generally speaking, it's
Right.
like the simple folk who show up with soup and stuff. And so I'm like, you know what? The meek inherit the earth. Jesus talked about that, and I need to really embrace all kinds of people and be a better person myself.
Yeah.
And I need to stop telling people what they want to hear. I need to stop trying to groom my image a certain way. I need to stop trying to appear as something I'm not, just so that I get invited to speak somewhere, or not disinvited to speak, which has happened once I decided to embrace my true self. And so I've done all that ever since I had the heart attack. I tell the truth all the time, which, let me tell you how socially awkward that is. It's socially awkward to tell the truth all the time. It does not always make friends and influence people, but it keeps my stress down, by a lot. I'm very nice to people who can do nothing for me. In fact, those are the people I tend to like the most, because I find real peace for me comes from doing things for people who can do nothing for me back. And I spend a lot more time with my kids. So I make a lot less money than I did before I had my heart attack, but I still make a lot more than most people do, and more than I need. So that's my long answer there, Sharon. I just wanted to enjoy my children before I died. And that I found a lot of peace on those long trips, even though there are moments of anxiety, because holy crap, I wish I was home right now. If you get sick or something bad happens at home, you feel helpless. But overall, I find them to be very transformative for my inner peace, my self-worth, and just giving me more perspective on my life, and more perspective on other people as well, and their reality, and how fortunate I am, and also how much I have to give, because your immediate bubble may be giving you a very false narrative about who you are. Whereas when you go to other places, they see you as who you are currently. Isn't that fascinating? Because if you're hanging out in places where you've been, they see you who you were 8 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But when you go somewhere new, they see you for who you are today. So you don't get all this toxic messaging from your old self, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. In this trip, you may have done it in other trips, but I remember specifically you talking about serving the homeless community. So tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so you can only hike the redwood. I think we literally hiked every single trail a few times, and we went to all the beautiful beaches of Northern California and Southern Oregon. And it's so beautiful that you're like, am I still alive? Did I die and go to heaven? Am I at the edge of the Matrix? Like, did I, how is it so beautiful? Or the Truman Show, when he walks out the door, like, did I walk outside of the Truman Show? Because this is just so freaking beautiful. But you can only do that so much. And I start to get a little lonely, listless, and I feel like my life has no meaning, just doing leisure all the time. And this very nice person, they happen to be non-binary, which is a big California thing, and a thing everywhere, but especially out there. And so anyways, this person, they got me involved in the church out there. And there is a homeless ministry. And there's something called Safe Space. And they, I keep saying she's born a she, goes by they though. They invited me to this place, the safe place, to just sit and hang out. So that's all I did, other than a little bit of cleaning here and there, and, bringing food and stuff like that. Right. Just sat and listened to folks and held their hand, encouraged them. Told them some of my own stories. And because I have achieved a modicum of success, my stories give them hope, because I have enough of a past where I can relate to a lot of the stuff that they have going on, or currently, right? Especially because they're younger homeless people. And just by being present with them, I saw that I was not the person that a lot of people have told me that I was. This lady who saw me with them, and she's like, Jen, no one had ever said this to me. She said, you're a truly gifted healer. I see these people sit with you and then they're in tears. Just from the way you listen to them and make them feel seen. And even the men, you know, and so no one had ever called me a gifted healer before. That's a lot nicer than a lot of things I've been called and told I was in my life. You know? When you're an ambitious woman, as you know, Sharon, you know, misogynist and, you know, the women who internalize misogyny alike come out of the woodwork to call you the B word and the C word. And so you start to believe it a little bit. At least I did. Yeah. And so to be called a gifted healer who was able to take some of those resources and funnel, you know, both some dollars and time into this ministry. It's nice to hear that you're a gifted healer versus the B word or the C word in competitive business spaces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agree.
I mean, raise your hand if you get called that like once a month, you know? I mean,
yeah.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, it really is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hardest things that we struggle with as women in business. Yeah. You know, if there's any measure of success, you know, if you need to be firm, just simply firm in any way.
Right.
That's the go-to is are you on your monthly, you know, or, you know, any of those things, right? Like, no, sorry, actually I'm past that. So, you know,
actually I'm ovulating.
Sorry
that I'm not humping you.
Yeah, exactly.
or if you have what they call the RBF, you know, with your face, you're not smiling enough or something.
Right. I'm just relaxing here.
I'm just not smiling.
Exactly. Do I need to?
I'm just thinking. This is just my thinking face. That's all.
Yes. Thank you. Exactly.
And I think that, you know, Jennifer, you pointed out some really great things, and I love that gifted healer, you know, and that you had people in tears, because at the end of the day, there are so many people out there that have lost their way, have pain in their life, have not felt confident, you know, and can't feel confident about running a business. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some people who women who didn't have that confidence. And you look at them after you begin to give them that confidence, and the way they blossom and grow.
Yes.
It's heartwarming to watch them transform into a human being that they get to be happier than they were before. I love the joy that comes from their being and watching them blossom or you know, become a butterfly from a cocoon type of thing. It's amazing how you don't think that your efforts would make that kind of a change in somebody, and then when you see it for yourself, you realize that's where I want to give, that's where I want to be able to help these people to explore their own lives and be explosive and whatever that meant to them.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Very well said. Yes. So, from a business logistics perspective, right? What did you have to put in place to be able to confidently walk away for these extended periods of time?
Good question.
So most of my businesses run very simply. I'm known for leveraging very cost-effective tools, doing a lot with very little in simple ways. So I put all of my clients on WhatsApp. So that way, when I see a WhatsApp pop up, I know it's from a client. So I don't have to be checking texts and DMs and Facebook DMs and all that stuff. So existing clients are always in WhatsApp. Now, new clients may be trying to come in Facebook Messenger, text, etc., email, and I don't monitor that as much. So I'm sure I lost new business, and that's just part of the deal, right? Mm-hmm. And if I was a better entrepreneur, I'm sure I could hire someone to do that for me to some extent. That would be the next evolution of the business. But I've never quite been able to replace myself in that role yet. Maybe it's because I enjoy it. Maybe it's because I have a need to feel relevant, which I see a lot in tired landlords, by the way. A lot of old, not to get too off topic, but a lot of older landlords who should sell don't, because they want to feel relevant, right? And so I'm guilty of that as well. I want to feel relevant. And so I don't replace myself like I should. But that's I only have 2 roles, and it's new client intake and payroll. The rest of my team does everything else. And so they just work their job as normal, right? And so my team, they find deals on and off market for their clients, and they do the data and skip tracing. And then we have the loan team, right, that do all the underwriting, et cetera. So all I have to do is just put in the new clients, and then they do the rest. My job is to check the end of day reports at the end of the day, right? Mm-hmm. And so without being too silly, although I want to be graphic just because I want to paint that picture of freedom, which is real, I check my end of day reports on the toilet, okay? Like we all have to go number 2 every day, right? And that is my time where I check my end of day reports. I know it's hilarious.
That's smart.
That's the only time that I work on vacation is while I poop. And I just check my end of day reports while I'm on the toilet. And then I'm done, which I have to poop anyways. So I may as well use that time to check my end of day reports. And so if you have to spend more time than what it takes to poop to run your business, and you can quote me on that, then you don't have it set up correctly. Okay.
That's totally coming.
That's for maintenance, not for growth, to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair. Okay.
That's not growth. So that's all I do is I just check my end of day reports. And if anyone's numbers are off, we dig into the why. Okay. And then of course that has to go outside. I'm like, do you need a new list? Is this market extra tough? Like we have some tough markets in Florida, and where you are in Virginia is always have 1 or 2 clients in Virginia. And that's always a tough one. And we explain that to them up front. Like you may have to double your ad spend in Virginia because the guru per capita there is really high. And then same thing in, like I said, Florida markets. Those 2 markets are the only markets from coast to coast where we really have to go, okay, we need to tell this client to switch markets because this Florida and Richmond are just really, really tough. And we're in dozens of markets from coast to coast. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to dig into, okay, why didn't we hit our numbers today? But more importantly, we look at it on a weekly basis, right? And so sometimes they'll get cute and they'll not turn in their end of day report because they know it means that I'm going to have to dig into their ass a little bit, okay? And so I'll be like, hey, what happened to your end of day report yesterday? They're like, oh, well, I didn't get any leads. I'm like, well, I need to see that. Not sending it does not help you. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help the client. So let's not get cute here. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Jen. Yeah, I know you're fucking sorry. Go ahead and do it anyways, I'm not trying to get you demonetized. You might have to bleep. But I say that for effect because I don't take a lack of accountability lightly. I do not like that because I don't do it, right? I'm not like, oh, sorry I didn't do payroll. Oh, well,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Happen, but we don't just go, oh, well.
So sorry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's the only time I have to do anything beyond just checking the end of day report is if either A, I'm doing payroll, B, new client intake, or C, I said B twice. C, someone's not hitting their numbers, right?
Gotcha.
So that's how I did it. And I did it by training them over the years before I left. So I started my business in 2016, and I wasn't able to take 1 month long breaks until 2023. So you do the math, right? That's 7 years of just build.
Growth.
Right? Now, it doesn't have to take you 7 years. It took me 7 years because I didn't have someone holding my hand and showing me how to do it. Right? But I have had to start over when I lost all clients at one point. Yeah. And I was able to rebuild it back in 3 months. Yeah. So once you know what to do, you can build it quickly. Yeah. But it's as you're learning what to do, that can take years, especially if number one, you're a trailblazer and you're the first one doing what you're doing, which I think is a little bit kind of what was going on in my case. Because I don't have a lot of competition whenever it comes to agencies that do all the stuff for clients, that do all the dirty work. I mean, there's more now, but I almost always put them out of business because they offer these VAs for too cheap. And I'm like, there's a reason why my prices are my price. So I used to feel like, oh no, I'm going to get priced out. I'm going to lose my business. Nope, because when you're priced that low, it's not going to work. It doesn't work long term. There's too much turnover. You can't motivate your people. You don't attract good clients. So I don't worry about price anymore. So it takes a long time if you're blazing a new trail, or you don't take on a mentor. You can really shorten the learning curve by taking on a mentor who's already done it. Then you can probably build it in 6 months to a year.
So tell us, Jennifer, that is all great information for like probably any business and super helpful. But for those who don't know specifically what you do or haven't seen you on here before, can you kind of share a little bit about, what are your specifics that what are your clients, what do you do for your clients? What does Jennifer do? But not on a day-to-day or what you're overseeing, but what's your business about?
Great question. And I do take that knowledge for granted. So thank you for helping me really make that clear. So we find and fund deals on and off market. So speaking of on market, we will find people who want to sell their properties on market with a realtor for that realtor and set an appointment for them and set them up with that. So we pull the list. So let's say someone's like, I want to do luxury listings. Great. Let me call properties that are 1 million or above. Now, usually those are more kind of buddy network than they are phone. You call them, texting, et cetera. I mean, that people at that level may not always do business with someone over the phone, but it's better than doing nothing, right? I mean, networking is great. But honestly, nothing is better than outbound marketing for controlling the volume. You can quote me on that too. Referral business is warmer. Inbound is warmer. But in terms of controlling the volume, and I'm a big volume person. I like volume. I don't like just relying on referrals and warm network. Like that's too slow for me. I'll take them all day long, but that's not how you run a business. So, if it's, let's say, like high-end luxury, right, and we're just using it as an example, we would call those, and first, to make it legal, you have to call and basically want to acquire that property, because you cannot legally solicit services, but you can legally call people if you're going to buy something. So we call them first from a wholesale perspective. Hey, by chance, would you consider selling your property for cash? Blah, blah, blah. No, this is $1 million property, blah, blah, blah. And then we say, great. Well, when would be a good time, for you to speak with Dan, our, brokerage arm? When we do all these follow-up questions in between to see if they really want to sell, how much, right? And why, and condition of the property, all those things, right? And again, I take all that information for granted. So if you want me to slow down and go into that, I can. But whenever we get the indications that this is someone who might actually close and they actually do want to sell, and it is a retail property, in fact, because they've done all the work to it, then we set the appointment for the listing agent, right? Now, most of my business is not from realtors, because realtors typically don't spend money on marketing for whatever reason, for the most part. Most realtors don't do a lot. So I don't have a lot of realtor clients, but just letting people know, we do have a lot of clients who do both as a realtor and investor. So for the investors, we pull lists, same as we do for the realtors, just different criteria, usually, $300K to $500K and below, right? Because you want to be able to flip it or wholesale it or keep it as a rental. And, do you want to pull distressed, tired landlord, vacant, absentee, tax liens, whatever criteria that you think is going to fit your personal style of acquisitions or the type of properties you're looking for. And then we call them, we can text them. I do have affiliates with PPC. I do have affiliates with mailers, but in-house, we just do texting and calling, right? However, I do love ringless voicemails, although they do bring litigation in some states. So be careful with your RVMs, be careful with your texts. If you use Launch Control, they're really good in terms of weeding out litigation. I do have an affiliate with them, full transparency. And we do the cold calling in-house, because that's what I did for years and years, was a cold caller myself. And so I trained a lot of people to replace me in that way. So I've replaced myself in every way except for those two that I mentioned earlier, right? Payroll and then new client intake. And so with that, we find people who are likely to want to sell off market by having conversations with them and them opting into wanting to discuss an offer on the property. So we're looking for, again, condition of the home, reason for wanting to sell, timeline, and price. Those are the 4 pillars that I feel like everyone knows, but then I'm surprised who doesn't, right? So it's always good to repeat those.
Yeah.
And so then we put those appointments right on their calendar. And then because I was tired of people having the excuse, well, I want to keep marketing with you, Jen, but I don't have any money for any more deals. I'm tapped out. I'm like, oh, guess what? I can help you wholesale your deal so you have a down payment for your next rental. Oh, and guess what? I'm a lender too. So it's kind of a one-stop shop in the finding and funding deals. We don't specialize in dispo, although I do have dispo affiliates. I have 3 that I can recommend. Sharon, I don't know if you do any type of dispo so that I can send
that is my bread and butter is dispo. Yeah.
Well, the fact that wasn't readily on top of mine, I'll have to beg your pardon on because of
that's okay. No. Yeah.
So Sharon, if you do dispo, great. I would love to refer people to you for that. I do not specialize in dispo. I just specialize in finding the deals, and then I can make funding the deals convenient. And I'm completely hands off whenever it comes to dispo. I do have some VAs who've done dispo work upon request, but I'm not an expert in that. I just have a very literate knowledge base.
Yeah, actually, I'm about to launch a software platform that fully automates the entire dispo process.
Oh,
so
my
from
goodness.
Contract signing to the closing table, completely automated.
Wow. What about the TC?
Yep, all of it.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. That would be. I can't
talk more about that later.
I love that, Sharon.
Oh my gosh, I'm super. That made my day hearing that.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's what we do. We specialize in having those conversations with sellers, and hopefully, if someone wants to, we can even get them under contract over the phone. Although we do recommend that you go in person because that's going to increase your closing ratio. And if you're just starting out, you want to increase your closing ratio so that you're making more money faster. But let's say you want to go on an extended trip. Then my team can send out contracts and offers for you. Just know that your closing ratio is going to go down, and therefore your marketing expense per deal is going to go up. So just keep that in mind.
Yep. So on the flip side of all of that, is there anything that got better while you were gone?
Quality of clients. All of my clients who seem to be attracted to me now are cool, either going full-time, time and a half, or double full-time with my staff instead of, I just want 10 hours a week of cold calling. Those people don't last because nothing, you can start something part-time, but you're eventually going to need to transition into full-time in order to make something successful. You can get a taste of how something's going to perform at part-time, but if you stay at part-time for more than a few months, those clients never last. Anything worth doing money-wise is worth doing full-time until you have all of your staff in place to replace yourself. Now, if I had someone who was doing payroll and client intake, then I could literally just travel indefinitely. But again, I have a human need to feel relevant. I do. I'm not going to lie. So until you build up your staff to replace yourself, you better be ready to work full-time. And probably for a while, right? So part-time's not going to cut it. And all of my current clients are full on ready. They're going full-time. They're hitting it full-time, and they're killing it because of it. One of my clients is making $100K a month in wholesale fees alone. And then one of my mentors, no joke, I'm going to drop his Joe Terrio, who was one of my clients back in 2019. He made $1 million a month in May. Okay. But he built that up over 7 years, and he's in the New England market, and he has spent a ton of money. He's in, Collective Genius. He spent like $70K on his CRM for Salesforce. And so he's been putting all of his money back into his business for all these years, and then boom, look at him, because CG is not cheap. Putting 70K into your Salesforce is not cheap. I would never be motivated to put 70K into a CRM, just being transparent. So that being said, the more money you want to make, the more you're going to have to front load your full-time, double full-time work.
Yeah. Yeah. In both financially and hours, your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There's no quick, fast thing.
No.
And anyone who's a serious business person, you're going to get more credibility by saying that. And anyone who's new and you're just going to do a fly by night, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and take advantage of people, then you tell them it's going to be quick.
Yep. So, what is one piece of advice or first step, right, that someone could take to start moving towards a business that can thrive without them for those long periods of time?
I would say that you're going to have to kiss frogs on staff. It really comes down to, you have to have the bravery to look at what you're doing. Someone said, okay, set a timer, and at the top of every hour, what task are you doing? Find someone, one per month, when you're one per month, one per week, whatever your bandwidth is, one per day. Hire one person per whatever your threshold is for time on that task that you're doing. Write down all the tasks that you do and hire someone at a good price that's reliable, that you trust, that's intelligent. Now, they don't have to be as good as you. One of my mentors is a lady, and believe it or not, it's a lady that does my eyelashes. As you can tell, it's been a while. I'm going to go see her tomorrow. I said, I don't know how you go out of town like you do, Ivy. Like, I don't know how you do it. I get so mad that my team is not as good as I am, right? And she's like, oh, Jen, you'll never leave town if you expect your staff to be as good as you. You need to expect them to be 70% as good, and that needs to be good enough.
Yeah.
So hire for people who are 70% as good as you, and give yourself that freedom, and just start with one task, especially the tasks that make you the least amount of money and take the most amount of time.
Yeah.
Start with that. And then go on to the next task, right? What is the next thing that I do that doesn't really generate money, that is not a high value thing on my time? And be prepared to hire people who suck and fire quickly, like people say. I have fired people and then rehired them a year later if they were very talented, just because they had maturity issues and they got older. And I gave them a shot, and I gave them a shot based on the recommendation of a fellow employer who was kind of advocating for them. Denver, if you're listening, you know I'm talking about you. He's so good and so talented, but he was young. And but now that he does everything I tell him to do now, and he's killing it, and he's making good money. And now in his country, he is rich, and he loves being rich in his country. And I think that he is going to, now that he has a taste. See, money is like drugs, okay? You have to get your staff hooked on money, like a dope dealer gets their clients hooked on drugs.
Oh, no.
I love it.
That's what you do, okay? Yeah. You pay the crap out of them, because it's better for them to get 99% of the profits and you get 1 if it's passive, and it keeps them around. And then you just hire more people, right? So my people are $13.50 an hour. I keep very little of that, because I want them to stay with me and stay loyal. And they do. And because of that, it's a passive business for me, and it's a passive business for my clients. So pay them well and make sure they do their job, and you will build a passive income. I'm the greediest person you'll probably ever meet. And that's what makes me one of the most generous, because the only way you keep people sending you referrals is, like, for example, for my loans, if you send me a loan, I will give you half of my commission, right? Yeah. Almost no one does that. And so how many referrals do you think I get? A lot, right? Yeah. And these commercial loans sometimes pay 30 grand. And so I have these commercial wholesalers who send me these commercial loans for their clients, so their clients can afford to buy the deals from them. So they get to double dip. They get the commercial wholesale fee plus they get half of my commission, right? And so if you want to be wealthy, because you're greedy, right? And of course that's a joke, right? I'm not
right.
You know, like greedy in a way that's disgusting. But I do love money a lot because it brings me freedom. And so I know the only way I can make a lot of money is by being very, very generous, right? So be very generous with your staff, and then you will have a passive income. I have seen too many people get jealous of the money that their staff is making. I see too many people start throttling back their commissions, being slow to pay. Look, I was a salesperson for 20 years before I owned a successful business. Okay. From age 15 to 35, I was in sales, and I would always be in like the top 5%. And I would say 90% of bosses would start to get jealous of the money I made. They would find ways to throttle it back because then I'd be blowing curves and making all this money. They didn't like seeing how much. I don't do that. That's asinine. Okay. Asinine business behavior. Do not get jealous of your salespeople. Make it so they never want to leave you. And that's how you have a passive business. You get them addicted to money, and you give them a place to earn it without you being jealous or throttling them back in any way. Have you guys ever seen that? Like you're in a sales situation and the owner of the business gets jealous because you're killing it or someone was killing it. All of a sudden they start adding all these arbitrary rules.
Yep.
So you make less money. I mean, that is, it doesn't even make sense to me. It never has.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that in a couple different sales jobs I've had.
I would love to hear more about that if you have the time or bandwidth.
Okay. So I spent a couple years working for a company that did advertising like this. So I sold advertising space. And when you got to a certain level of sales in that, suddenly your commission rate dropped. It didn't increase, which is so stupid, you know? And so it basically like
disincentivize people to blow it the
right.
top out.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that was insane to me. And then it was, if you didn't like, you get 1 month you sell, you know, a certain dollar amount. If you didn't hit that same dollar amount and more the next month, you were penalized. Like you could never have like one good month and then go back at any point in time. It was only ever forward. And the problem with that is sometimes, as you know, right, you get a client that, you know, just wants to try you for a month and you get a big sale for that month. And then, well, how are you going to duplicate that, you know? And so, you were punished left and right. It was so stupid. It was very frustrating.
And it was probably because of all those years working for other people that I became the kind of boss where people don't leave usually. And like I said, there is some attrition whenever I'm out of town with my Americans always, not my Filipinos. My Filipinos don't leave when I go on vacation. It's just the Americans who do, you know? And so I'm prepared for that, and I mentally prepare for that because I guess they feel like we're closer in class. I mean, we talk about class. I mean, you know, they feel like, well, if she's doing it, well, you know, then, and if I'm not doing it, well, then, you know, fuck her, basically. And it's like, no, not F me. No, I've told you how to do it. You're not listening, right? I can tell you step by step how to do it and what to say, what to say to sellers. And I know you do too, Sharon. You're really, really good at teaching people. Yeah. But it doesn't mean everyone wants to listen.
No. Yes, very much so. But you're right. I enjoy seeing the light bulb, right? When someone gets it, right? That's like the greatest thing for me. But yeah, there's so many that will argue with you. You've done this same thing for so long. You know how to do it. They argue with you. Dude, I'm telling you, that's not the right way, you know? Or they don't want to put in the work. They get sold on the idea that money is fast and quick, right? And it's not. It's hard work, right? Especially in wholesaling, there's a lot of hard work, right? It's simple but not easy, right?
Simple but not easy, exactly.
And so they get frustrated quickly and give up, all the things. So yes, I've experienced all that good stuff.
Exactly. So if you pay your people well and give them very outlined SOPs and give them an opportunity to succeed, pay them on time, you will build a strong and thriving business that will make it so you can go out of town for extended periods of time. Nice. And find out who you really are. I had no idea that I enjoyed working with the homeless. Like, I just unlocked a whole room in my head that I didn't know was there.
Yeah. That's so funny that you say that, because that really just leads right into the question I was about to ask is, did you notice any habits, patterns, or mindsets that you wanted to shift once you had that space, that time away? So like working with the homeless or any other thing, like just a shift in yourself.
I try to keep this somewhat private just because I don't want to derail a conversation into a sermon that would trigger people. But so I'm just going to be real for a second. There's so much of my life I was exposed to a version of Christianity that was so judgmental.
Amen.
And disgusting and misogynist and exclusive and you can come to church, but not if you're mentally ill, not if you're poor, not if you're disabled, not if you're queer. Okay, those are not allowed in. And I was able to see a version of Christianity that was truly about serving the least among us. Like Jesus said, what you do to the least of me is what you do to me.
Right.
And the story of the Good Samaritan is about this very maligned subculture that was hated, that helped someone. Well, I was hanging out with toothless, transsexual, homeless people who were helping others. And that and the judgmental, more socially right-leaning look, I'm like an old school centrist, I'm fiscally conservative and socially liberal, because there's only two things that are taboo across all cultures, and it's incest and murder. And everything else across the world is kind of negotiable in terms of what's seen as moral or immoral, right? Like, no culture in the world thinks that murder is okay. No culture in the world thinks that incest is okay. So that's what I mean by socially liberal. It's like, you know what? There are good people in every kind of walk of life. And so I got to experience a grace and a goodness that transcended social barriers that have been really pounded into my head my whole life. And I felt like I was worshiping with people that Christ would be with if he was here today.
Right.
Not perfect
dinner with
Betty Pearl Clutcher, who, God bless her, has her role in the community too, And
Betty Pearl Clutcher. I love it.
Or balding Buddy, who hasn't seen his privates in 20 years, but he's sin while he is gluttonous. You know what I mean? And so everyone likes to lecture you about being gay or sexy, but no one lectures you about greed or apathy, right? And I feel like those are sins that hurt more people than showing cleavage or being gay. And so it was nice to experience the other side of the spectrum of Christian worship in a way that only California could.
Fair.
So that made me feel like, instead of maybe I'm the B and the C word, maybe I am a gifted healer. Maybe for some people, right? So that was a big mindset shift. I made friends that neither hit on me nor asked me for money. And usually people ask me for a job, or they hit on me, or they have contempt. But I was not seen in either one of those three lights. I was seen as a kind person who put the least among them first. And that was nice to see that side of myself. And it was nice to see that in others, because I can carry that with me no matter what else happens for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That I need not be a good consumer. I need not be, a sex object. I need not be a raging capitalist who has to put profit at the forefront at all times. I can be a person of kindness and charity and true charity. Not, let me write a big check and do a write-off. But I'm talking about really getting your hands dirty and cleaning a homeless bathroom and giving Narcan in case there's someone in there who's overdosed. I mean, that's real. That's getting your hands dirty,
Right. Yeah. That's beautiful.
I thought you might appreciate some of that, Sharon.
Yeah. So I may have asked this already. I don't know. What did rest or your time away teach you that the hustle culture never could?
That I have value beyond my productivity. I have value beyond, again, the social capital of my appearance.
Yeah.
That deep down, we are all still little children who want to be loved and valued. And the more we demand that from others, the less we're going to get it. But when you give it first, when you give being seen and loved first, even if someone is being awful to you, I've learned that, if someone says something awful and I just make them feel seen, I'm like, it sounds like you're really uncomfortable right now. And maybe things aren't going so great in some way you haven't told anybody. Yeah. And you'll see people just start crying. That's what's weird is like all of a sudden I'm making people cry wherever I go, and not meaning to, but by just being a person
reaching that softness inside them,
who sees them all of a sudden. And it's weird, I mean, it's weird to have that effect on people when I'm so used to making them defensive, right? Or feel like they need to put on a show, but just by saying, hey, I see you. I don't know, this sounds weird, but I had a dream that I hugged Donald Trump and I told him what a good job he was doing. And he started crying, because I'd been doing so much of that these people who were these big bosses that never get seen, that never have anyone tell them, hey, buddy, you're doing a good job. Instead, they get defensive whenever they start yelling at them or something like that. But instead, when people maybe get a little grumpy with me, instead of yelling at them back or escalating, I just say, hey, are you okay? Do you need some food? Have you had enough sleep? I mean, who asks someone who's yelling at you, hey, have you had any food? Have you had enough to eat? Have you had enough sleep?
That's funny you say that. One of my best assistants, and she's now one of my best friends, but she was my assistant for probably 3 or 4 years at a company I worked at. And that's exactly what happened. Like she would bring snacks to me at my desk. She would bring my coffee, just because she could hear me on the phone with whatever was going on. And she just knew, she intuitively knew I haven't eaten, I haven't drank water, I haven't had coffee, whatever it was. And she just was able to serve me in that way. And it was so profound, because it enabled me as the manager at the time to be a better, leader in what I was doing. And it was just phenomenal. Sorry about that. I agree with you. That is so profound for so many reasons, to just see people where they're at and be able to serve them, even if it's just a reminder, a word to say, have you eaten? or in her case, she would literally bring snacks and just slide it across my desk at me because, she realized that I hadn't. And
it makes you feel you're not alone.
Yeah.
And it takes this weight off of your shoulders. The words that you mentioned, Jennifer, maybe you haven't told anybody. That right there just releases such a weight to think that this person said this to me and they're right. And maybe they'll listen to me and hear what I have to say. And I'm not alone. And I have that. And sharing the girl who brought you stuff. I mean, to feel that love and to know that somebody noticed it, that I haven't had time to eat today. Oh, thank you so much for doing that for me. You just become ingrained and connected on a deeper level.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Where in the past I made it all about me. Why don't you respect me more? Why don't you realize how great I am? Why are you giving me your worst? Why don't you come to me serving me? I just had such a very entitled, almost narcissistic mentality because I had grown up without love and care. And so I just didn't know how to give it. And I was just like this vacuum of needing attention and vacuum of my self-esteem was so low. So I needed to have people propping it up at all times. And so it takes real self-esteem to realize that nothing is about you, and to reach out and go, hey, what can I do to genuinely help you and expect nothing in return at all. And that will set you free.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to see that in that process, Jennifer, and just really grew you as a person is so amazingly intuitive. And to be able to swap out the way and that you make it sound easy. I'm sure it wasn't, but the journey that you went through to get to that person was probably very, very, and the fact that you recognized it, a lot of people don't recognize that. I can't see that. I can't see beyond it.
There's no peace in the way that I was before. And I'd had my ass kicked by life so much. And by my own mental health, I mean, I have also started being public about the fact that I suffer with anxiety ever since I was 12. Horrible anxiety. I had a therapist for 10 years and he was like, Jennifer, I've never seen anyone who has such high anxiety, but also can function too. But it's not easy, right? And so I learned to take my anxiety down. I needed to be a human being, not thinking about productivity all the time. Right now, of course, for my clients, I do, right? Like, hi, Dee, good to see you. You have to put your clients first, right? Because that's having a servant heart too.
Yes.
You have to make sure that your clients are getting what they're paying for. But outside of work, I mean, like I had a neighbor who watched my chickens in the past and be like, hey, thank you so much. But I would have been nervous to conversate with them because part of my anxiety was if I talk to them for too long, they're going to realize that I'm not a very good person. Isn't that sad? Like that's the messaging that I got growing up. You're not a very good person. You're both unloved and unlovable. And so I would really keep to myself because I'd be like, well, if I talk to them too long, they're going to realize that I'm unlovable. And now I feel like I am lovable. And so I'm more likely to engage, right? And say, hey, come on over, come sit on my porch sometime. Come talk to me about son's trip to Alaska, where before I'd be like, why do I care about his son's trip to Alaska? And so it was like the self-fulfilling prophecy. I was told that I was a bad person, so I kind of became a bad person, and I told myself I was a bad person. If you've ever seen that movie Megamind, and how one lands and like this a prison yard and the other lands in this other place, but the one who lands in the prison yard, even though they're both babies, one's told he's bad his whole life. Right. And so he believes it. And so the messaging that we give children becomes their inner script. Right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So it takes a long time to unprogram that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite songs is a song by Jewel. And one of the lines goes, maybe if we are surrounded in beauty, someday we will become what we see.
Oh, yeah. Environment is so very, very important in our self-image.
Yeah.
And mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So
and
now if something comes in with something gross, like to where it's not just about if I reach out to them to try to be seen and they don't take that moment, that human moment, and they're just sadists, the type, psychopath, whatever. It's like, nope, I will literally say to their face, get thee behind me, Satan. I'm like, I'm not saying you're Satan, but I'm saying that Satan is speaking through you right now. And I need to get thee behind me. I do not accept people treating me badly. Beyond after I've had that conversation, do you need food? Have you had sleep? Are you okay? How can I help? And they're just being sadistic just to be sadistic. It's like, nope, no place for that. I do not entertain that. But when I was younger, I thought maybe I deserved it. And so I'd fight with it. Now I don't fight with it. I put it behind me. Right?
Yeah.
What did Dee say down there?
He says, I can relate. I don't engage much because I fear people will find out I'm not as smart as they may think I am.
And just opening up, Jennifer, yourself and being vulnerable I'm sure that you've already awakened that in some other people themselves.
I try. It's not like it translates into dollars, that's for sure. And I'm very conscious of that. But
but it's almost irrelevant, right? Because you're establishing that relationship, which builds.
Yeah, and I know Dee, I don't want to say personally like I know her personally, but I've known her a long time, and she's an action taker.
Yeah.
Dee is an action taker, and she is a good person. She's an honest person. She does what she says she's going to do. So, Dee, that is more important than intelligence. I know plenty of smart people who work at Amazon. They don't own property. They're not doing, wrap lending. So networking and being consistent and being honest will get you further than any raw intelligence. And so don't worry about that. I mean, you're plenty bright. It's not like I've ever sat you in front of an IQ test, but I've certainly never had the thought, oh, well, Dee's not that. No, I've always thought she's a really good person. And Dee's also really intuitive too. Like Dee was there the day that I had the heart attack, and she could tell there was something off about me. She was like, Jen, I could tell. She was one of two people who said, Jen, I could tell, there is something that, there's something off, So she could tell. Dee is very intuitive.
Yeah.
I can't see what her comment says, though.
She says, Jen definitely is the person who pushes other folks forward, myself included.
That's a nice.
That's very nice. Dee, thank you.
I like that. Sounds good.
This has been such a great episode. Jennifer, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for letting me share.
Much.
You're welcome. I'm going to put your email up on the screen. Is that a good email for you?
Yeah,
REI Data Source? Okay. So if any of the audience wants to talk to Jen, you can reach her at her email. And thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, ladies.
A great conversation to have. And I really appreciate this. The whole interview. It was great.
Yep. Your vulnerability was amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate your time.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.